everybody. Welcome back. We are back at the All Red, White, and Blue podcast. I'm Mike Allred, and of course we have Jim.
Hey.
How you doing, Jim?
I'm well.
Do you like Jim or Kaz? It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter now.
All right.
Nope.
We got the captain, of course.
Hey.
How you doing, Captain?
Good.
And Todd. Todd, I noticed you didn't bring anything this time.
Bringing up the rear. Oh, it's still here.
Oh, okay. All right. We're good to go. We have a special podcast today where we have a special guest. Gary McElhaney's joining us in the audience. Well, not the audience. On the podcast. Thanks for coming, Gary. We'll introduce Gary more later.
USA.
Turn that off.
USA.
I'll be doing a lot of editing with this. I don't have Josh here next to me, so I don't have an engineer. Anyway, Gary agreed to join us today, and there's a couple of reasons. One, he was already on my list. Gary's had a nice career in law enforcement and also in, you're not a lawyer.
No, labor negotiation.
Labor negotiating.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. So excellent career, and was appointed by Governor Ehrlich to be the chief of the Maryland Transportation Authority Police. And so we wanted to talk to him a little bit about some of the things that's happened, obviously, here in Baltimore, especially the bridge incident. So that's one of the reasons you're here, Gary. Also, yeah, we have a book that you came out with, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
Well, it's been a while. It's been a work in progress over many years. And I decided in about 2001, it was time to start writing some things down. And hooked up with Kevin Coward, who used to work for the Sun paper.
Right.
Who has helped Ed Norris write his book, and Ed Hale helped Ed write his book, and we sat down and said, "Hey, I think we got something here."
That's great.
So it took about a year and a half. It was a lot of fun. One of the hardest things I've ever done. But
confession, Gary, I haven't read it because you just gave.
I just gave it to you.
Yeah. So, but I will read it. I will read it.
You didn't give any. You didn't give any classified documents to your ghostwriter, did you? Nothing like that.
A couple of them, but he shredded them. He was smart enough to do that.
He was smart enough to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the name of the book. Tell us the name.
Bleeding Blue.
Bleeding Blue by Gary McElhaney. And is this about your career?
It's a memoir. It's I tried to, it's when you get into a project like that, you think it's going to go one way, and it end up doing a 180 on me, and just talking about all the men and women who meant so much during my career, and it's a lot about those we lost as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, during 44 years in law enforcement.
So is it spanning pretty much your whole career in law enforcement?
Up until about the time I left public safety.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Which was how long ago now?
A little over a year, 2 years ago.
Okay.
Leaving public safety.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to dive into more about that later in this podcast. So where are you now? You're at Howard County, correct?
I'm at Howard County now. Retired for a little bit and said, you know what, that retire,
right?
It's not for me.
Yeah, you like to be busy.
Well, I got to afford to play golf, so I can only afford to play golf if I'm working.
We're gonna have to rope you in.
What were you doing? What were you doing in Howard County?
I'm the chief of staff.
Chief of staff
for the police department.
Okay.
Great county, great leadership.
Is there a Palazzi guy over there?
He lives in the county.
He's not with the department or anything like that.
No. He's in the private.
There's a Moyer.
He's in the
a
private
Moyer?
sector.
There's a Moyer there.
There's a Moyer in the building. Yes.
Okay.
There's always a Moyer in the building.
Yeah.
Shout out to Steve Moyer.
Moyer less.
So we've had kind of an interesting week. Not too much, I guess. Well, that's not true. A lot new. But we had, when was this? You actually brought this up, Jim, where they had a carnival at the White Marsh Mall.
They did.
Is that right? And apparently, according to what I was reading today, they have closed, or they did close, the carnival due to the behavior of a lot of the individuals who decided they weren't going to behave.
And shut it down early.
Yeah. And now this is in White Marsh, which is a big shopping area in Baltimore County here. And
it's at the mall, at the parking lot.
Yeah. It's basically the parking lot of the mall. But it's also extends over to the avenue.
Across from the avenue.
Yeah. So they were having a lot of problems apparently at this event. I don't know if it was the first night of it, but hundreds, I think about 200 different youth came over, and they basically started their fights, a lot going on, where they basically just had to shut the thing down, which was sad because that community needs to be built up a little bit and needs some good things to happen. And it was, I know they were talking about how they had K9 out and the air units out there, the helicopters, I guess, and it just turned into kind of a mess. So,
Well, they had 8 off-duty Baltimore County guys working secondary employment.
8 of them.
And then, there's 8 of them. Mm-hmm. Okay, so
plus private security was there too, right?
Yeah, they would have to have some private security there as well. And I'm not sure, I wasn't there, so I don't know what they had, how it was sectioned off, or how many private security they had, whether they were armed or not. I'm pretty sure they weren't armed because that gets expensive. And then obviously you got to have EMS there, but somebody gave them the permit to keep having this event. This is not the first time it's happened, and it's not the first event that's been there. But I mean, you see people talking about, hey, the police should have had more people, blah blah blah. But this is not the police's responsibility to provide security for this event. They had 8 people that were willing to work secondary, right. That have arrest powers that can go in there and back up and do whatever they need to do. But this falls on the shoulders of the event coordinator and whoever is responsible for putting this event on. They've got to pay and they've got to have their own security set up, right, in there, enough to handle any of this stuff based upon what the crowd is expected. You can't put this on the police departments. It's not their job. You can't put it on the backs of the police department. They have to man a crew, a shift to go out every night for the taxpayers. They're not there to make this, whoever is putting on this event, money and provide security for them. They're just there for backup.
Well, they have a precinct right there.
Correct.
So I imagine it was pretty overwhelming. If
there
all
probably wasn't anybody there, but the duty officer,
right?
Maybe a handful of guys, and then everybody else is out. They're patrolling. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing for the taxpayers, and they had 8 people there off duty, doing secondary.
Well, I saw that they were at one point the stores over in the Avenue were complaining because they said they were locking the doors.
They had to shut them down. Yeah, they locked people in.
Yeah. And yet, out of all that, hundreds of people causing these problems, they said they locked up 4. And I think one of them wasn't even related to that. It was like related to something else.
Possibly, yeah.
But I don't know. But I guess if you don't have enough officers, you don't have enough.
Were there weapons involved, or is this just...
Originally, there was report of some, but afterwards they were saying no, that...
So just adolescents fighting.
There was a report of gunfire, but there's no
gunshots, right?
There's a report of gunfire, but nobody knows that. But
yeah,
and you're not supposed to be able to you weren't supposed to be able to get into the event if you were under 21 without adult supervision. So I don't know how it's event staff how lenient they were, or if there was a one way in, one way out, or were there magnetometers? I doubt any of that stuff.
Yeah, that's the question I was getting after, whether there was defined entrances.
And I don't know.
It doesn't sound.
I wouldn't think so in Carnival.
Right.
I don't know any of that. And it's a giant parking lot, so you'd have to erect the wall.
No injuries reported, so I guess that's all good. But it's just a shame. It was just a shame that it happened, and I don't know how many nights it was supposed to go on. Do you?
I do.
But they just shut the whole.
Probably the whole weekend.
Yeah.
It happened on a Saturday.
Yeah.
So it was probably going to be.
Anybody see the eclipse today? You did?
I saw it.
I was out.
I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry.
I was out when it happened, but it was.
I was out, and I was waiting for it to get dark. It never got dark.
Very uneventful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't like it was cloudy, and that was it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, a buddy of mine, he has the glasses on, and he's texted me a picture of it, and I was like, well, that's great, but it looks normal here.
Yeah, I saw some cool pictures online.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Did you see it, Gary?
I did.
Did you have the glasses?
Well, it was funny. The neighborhood kids came over and said, "Here, Mr. Gary, make sure you're wearing your glasses." And they handed me the glasses. So
You were protected by the
Safety
kids.
for the
I was
public safety.
protected by. You
It
just
should be
want
the other way around.
You want to peek though, It's like
You do.
you just want to go. "Does it work?"
I kept doing this because I
Yeah.
didn't have the glasses.
Yeah, that'll
It
protect
didn't
you.
help. Yeah, it didn't help. I was like, this is not going to work.
Like you're at the horror movie.
Moving fingers. But they said here it was 2.5 hours almost. I didn't see it.
I think peak was 321.
321
Yeah, it
and
was
about
supposed to be,
89% of the sun was blocked or something like that.
Yeah.
As a follow-up, one of the stories we covered a couple of weeks ago, well, gosh, has it been 2 weeks now? When was the bridge hit? Anybody remember? You should know.
Tuesday before last.
Yeah.
Tuesday before last. So almost 2 weeks. Yeah, March 26th. So there's been some updates since then. We talked a little bit about it, but it seems, let's talk a little bit about the event that happened, especially in case nobody knows what happened. So we had a container ship coming out of the port of Baltimore and lost control of the steering. And from what I understand, it was a power outage. Is that what you got out of that?
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
Okay. And ends up hitting the Francis Scott Key Bridge, and the bridge collapsed, which was that was bad enough, of what it's done to opening the shipping line here in Baltimore. But we also had, I think there were 6 deaths from the working crew. It just happened to be a crew fixing potholes, I think, on the bridge that night. Actually, fortunate that it wasn't worse. It could have been incredible if traffic hadn't been stopped. So give it up to your boys at the MDTA for stopping traffic and basically responding the way they thought.
Yeah, they did a phenomenal job. They followed their training for sure.
You said you got notified that night before middle of the night?
Middle of the night, I got a call, and when the phone goes off in the middle of the night and you're in law enforcement, it's never a good thing. And it was actually a reporter from the Washington Post, and when I saw his name, I was like, this is not going to be good.
Yeah.
And he said, the Key Bridge collapsed. And I said, what are you talking about? He goes, it's in the water. The whole damn bridge is in the water.
What was your first thought?
Well, I had to check, see if my son was working.
Oh, that's right.
That was the first thing.
Yeah.
And he normally does not, but, you want to
Sure.
want to make sure. And I actually called him, and he was on his way in because they called,
Sure.
they called everybody in for that. But, it was a pretty unbelievable sight watching those videos and hearing those audio transmissions from the officers. And
Sure.
So Gary, is that protocol? They saved a lot of lives by shutting down traffic on that bridge. Is that protocol when, I guess the ship had a mayday call and that sort of thing? Anything around the bridges like that, it's automatic, shut traffic down?
Yeah. So there's been a lot of training post 9/11. I mean, I was chief there, started in 2003. So we did a ton of training regarding what happens with those bridges, that bridge, the Bay Bridge, the 2 tunnels. What happens if you have an incident? We had scenario training. What happens if somebody, put the bomb on the bridge, blows the bridge up?
So that's the focus, is that somebody could be trying to take part of the
Yeah.
bridge down.
Targeting.
So that's kind of that's in their mindset, right?
Yeah, so that's what they're there for, to protect the assets
Yeah.
of the authority and that's critical infrastructure. That's why the Marine unit was there. That's why it was formed. We formed that in 2004 for that specific reason. But it was all focused on terrorism.
Right.
It was what's it take to bring the bridge down? How would a terrorist do it? And a lot of it was from the deck level.
you would think so.
Because ships they're not piloted by foreign crews when they come in there. There might be a foreign, vessel, but from the moment it enters the Chesapeake Bay, it's got a pilot on there from Maryland. Right. And so you're not worried about the ship taking the bridge out.
You're worried.
You're
about
more worried about a truck bomb or
parked and stopped and they
park, stop, get out. We had
Detonate.
that exact scenario at the tunnel one year.
Yep.
Where we had to close the tunnels on a minute notice. We closed both tunnels, both directions, in about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And so they're trained. And the way the posts are configured there, so you always have one on the north side, one officer, one on the south side, and one to cross. Because if something does happen and your bridge is blocked, you can't get over to help. So you always got to try to keep somebody on each side of the bridge. if you can, if it's just a routine night. It seems like that was just a routine night. Construction on that bridge happens. It's an old bridge.
Constantly.
Happens every night. They're always doing something to maintain it.
Yeah, by the time you fix one pothole, the one that you fixed 3 years ago needs to be repaired again.
How many times you cross the Bay Bridge and see them painting the Bay Bridge?
Absolutely.
It's just a never-ending
Absolutely. Yeah.
construction.
Just like a house. You're always doing
Welding, they're always
something with it.
welding, and
Yeah, they're always welding
Yeah,
or
yeah.
scraping paint or
Right.
fixing rust spots. Or
Elements in the weather. I mean,
that's
you're always doing
really
something.
quite a feat when you think about it. These bridges, especially large ones like that one. You know, obviously the Bay Bridge is huge, but the Key Bridge was no small bridge. In fact, I always enjoyed driving over it because of the view it offered to the city and the bay, and it was just pretty cool.
and people don't realize it's the same height as the Bay Bridge.
Yep.
Is it really?
180
Yeah,
feet.
except the Bay Bridge, it's about 180 feet, depending on the tide.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Key Bridge is 1.5 miles long. Bay Bridge is 4.5 miles long.
It's just longer, right?
Yeah.
So they're constantly training, I guess is what you were saying, is for instances like this.
Oh, the other difference
or maybe
is
not like this, but
I'm sorry. The other difference is one gets you on the other side to get to Ocean City, and the other one gets you to Dundalk. I'm just saying.
right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So there's that.
Fort Armstead Park.
So there's that.
So go back a minute to all the infrastructure that basically MDTA patrols. Obviously, you have the tunnels. Is that correct?
So yes, the tunnels, both crossings, Fort McHenry Tunnel and the Baltimore
Right.
Harbor Tunnel, the Bay Bridge, the
Okay.
Key Bridge. They're also responsible for the Nice Bridge, which is at 301 going into Virginia.
Oh, that's right.
Down
yeah,
in southern,
yeah.
down in
That's a big
southern
bridge.
Maryland.
Yeah.
That's a brand new bridge too. They just finished that probably about 2 years ago. And then of course portions of 95. Every once in a while the troopers like to come down.
Yeah, yeah,
95.
yeah.
They come down a little too far.
I thought it was the other way around. Yeah.
But and the ICC, the new ICC.
Oh, that's right.
Governor
I
Robert
forgot about
Ehrlich
that. Yeah,
dedicated ICC.
The ICC, I forgot about that.
Yeah, so
It's the Inter-County Connector.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the best road in the state if you've never driven it.
It's a great road.
It's empty.
Yes.
It is empty.
It's a great road.
It's empty.
I use it a lot. Yeah. And there's another bridge, in Harford County, right? Harford, Cecil.
The Hayden Bridge, right?
Hayden
The old Hayden Bridge going over the
Love them, hate them.
is that
Yep.
Susquehanna.
I know. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, there's a bridge on Route 40 as well. Do you guys cover that?
That is the
That's the Hayden Bridge.
That is the Hatem.
That's
What's the
the
95 one?
The
then?
tidings, right?
That's the Tidings Bridge,
Tidings.
which
Oh, okay. All right.
MSP is responsible for.
Okay. All right. You gave us that one.
We gave you that one.
Thanks.
But we gave you the airport.
Yeah.
You did.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness, we gave you the airport.
The airport.
Oh, that's like a lot of money.
But you gave, and you had the port at one time. I mean, they had
Yes.
the old port police
It's true.
Yeah.
merged in with them, but
Yeah,
the
yeah.
airport's the crown jewel. Of
Oh, you got the crown. You got the jewel.
yeah, absolutely.
I'll never forget when you guys took it. It was what, 90, I'm going to say 92?
later
No,
than that.
93.
Before my
93.
time, yeah.
Because I was assigned there. I was their last 8 months, or was it 10 months? The last 10 months.
Well,
that
originally
State Police
when it
had
was Friendship Airport,
Oh wow.
going way back,
Oh
it was owned by Baltimore City,
Yes.
and Baltimore City
Yeah.
had it.
yes.
Well, I remember the officers then became troopers when the state police took it. And then when Transportation Authority took it, they offered the troopers now
Really?
the opportunity to become Transportation Authority police, which they all did.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, they all did.
Because they liked that assignment.
Yeah, but they hadn't been in patrol situations with the state police ever. They had always been there, basically.
Right.
So I don't I always heard growing up that the NDTA was a more lucrative law enforcement
Did
in
you
the
hear that?
state. I've always heard. Is that true?
Well,
Well,
Gary
you
was
know,
preaching
all-
And I
that.
had known nothing about it.
all the money comes from tolls. So
Oh well, then you're doing
and
okay.
the
then.
revenue. So
Yeah.
there's no general fund money. It doesn't cost the state. Matter of fact, it's an independent agency for the most part, run by a board of directors.
Okay.
And they're one of the highest compensated, pay-wise police officers in the state.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
And
Okay.
funny story. I when I got there, I wanted a command bus. Everybody at post 9/11, everybody wanted a command bus, and I forgot what the dimensions were, but so I went in and doing this begathon at the budget time, and I said, this command bus needs to be 58 feet. And they're like, well, why does it need to be 58 feet? And I said, well, MSP's is 57.
I knew that was coming.
I believe that.
So we took it everywhere on the road show. But
I think
it's a well-funded agency.
Okay, that confirms it. For
You get a lot of federal money.
No federal money.
Is that right?
Yeah, so the authority didn't like to take federal money because it comes with strings.
Oh, it always
It
does.
comes with highway strings, and they have
Well,
enough.
kudos to the authority then, because most people will sell out for that money.
1 quarter at a time, they were making their money, right?
Yeah.
So
Barrick M.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
There are
look,
strings.
Right.
Strings.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's true.
Strings.
Perfect example. We had a lot of programs that were funded, but
strings.
But strings. You're right.
Going back to your point, the MDTA pays MSP to patrol 95 from the Beltway basically to the Delaware line.
Mm-hmm.
That whole road is MDTA property, but every car's got a property tag on it and is registered to MDTA.
Has that always been the case?
Always.
Interesting.
Yeah, I
didn't realize
it
that.
used to get my goat.
But they get brand new cars every what, 2 years?
Yeah, when we were putting Mustangs and Camaros on the road,
I remember that.
Unmarked cars.
Yeah. There was a lot of jealousy. Wasn't me. I wasn't there.
Barrick M was the first one to have the pilot video camera program. The camera.
Right.
Yeah.
Ooh, we talked about that.
That was a
didn't we?
string.
That was a string.
That was a big string.
So did you ever get your tactical bus?
I did.
Stripes?
I did. Yeah, it was all striped out, and it was pretty sweet.
That's what I think of when I think there's buck.
It was beautiful bus. I
Stripes-
saw it. I
Stripes
never
the
got
movie.
in it though.
There's-
We got tanks, that kind of go on runways and go up. You see them in Europe a lot for hijacks.
Yeah.
Things at the airport that would shoot a ladder up to a plane and stuff like that. Yeah, they pretty much get what they want or what they need.
What they need.
They need it.
You're renting out your tour bus to Jason Aldean when you're not using it.
He comes to Merriweather now.
That's right.
That's pretty incredible. But I also remember, I did not know that, because there was a lot of troopers were like, why is the MDTA, why are they patrolling 95 up past the Beltway now? It was always theirs.
Well, we used to play a game of leapfrog, right? It was always theirs, but a prior superintendent and I had a pretty heated discussion.
Really?
Can you name that superintendent, please?
He was homegrown. I can tell you that.
What year was this?
2005,
Oh,
2007.
Skeletor.
Oh.
I'll get you, He-Man.
So you play a little leapfrog going up the highway,
Right.
right? We sitting across over MSP, sitting across over at White Marsh. Somebody, one of MDTA guys would go a little further up at Bradshaw, sitting across. Right, next thing you know, you're in Bel Air. Next thing you know, you're in Cecil County, and the guy's radio doesn't work because he can't. He's too far away.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool. Was there a lot of interagency squabbles, I
Yes.
would say? Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's good natured.
I mean, I was going to say, because it seemed like everybody kind of was working well during that period together.
yeah.
But
Well,
you never know what's going on behind the scenes.
We formed the EP unit under my former chief of staff,
What?
Bruce Carlin.
An EP for who?
Rest in peace.
Well, when the governor needed something that MSP couldn't provide, we would always step in and kind of help out.
Rest in
Our
peace.
buddy Bruce, absolutely.
Yeah, good old
What
Bruce.
a
Good
guy! What a guy!
Good man, man. Good man. Yeah.
We were just talking about him.
We were.
I have a great picture. Did I show it to you? I'll have to show it to you sometime. It's me, you, Bruce, and Charlie.
That was the day we were providing security on the golf course.
Yes, we sure were. I think
you
it's
can
also the day, Governor Ehrlich, that you mashed my ball into the ground. That I couldn't find it.
He drove right over it in the fairway.
Yeah.
Remember the time that Charlie got pulled over for I don't know if it was seatbelt or something like that. He was in a cruiser and he got pulled over by an MTA guy.
Ooh.
But in on 29, in Howard County.
Was that right?
And I think he I don't know if he called you or if he called somebody.
Right, Bruce.
He called he called somebody.
Yeah.
It's like, here, you might want to talk to this guy. It's like, what? And then he chewed him. I was like, what are you doing stopping cars out of your jurisdiction?
Wow.
Crazy.
Some fun times.
Yep.
But yeah, that was a good time, and that's a picture I'll always cherish with Bruce and you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
What a good guy.
Yeah, fun times. Bruce was actually instrumental in. I was telling you this earlier, where there was some question as to what my assignment might be when Governor Ehrlich got elected, and thanks to Bruce, he was instrumental in kind of supporting me staying on the EP detail.
So I met Bruce when I was 19 and a cadet.
Wow.
In Baltimore City Police Department.
Oh,
Wow.
that
My
brings
first
up-
day on the job,
Really?
Bruce is,
Where did Bruce work in
he was in
BCD?
planning research, driving the major at the time. And I was a cadet.
He
My
already had a
first
cushy
day.
job.
My first day on the job, they introduced me to this guy, and
He
he's
was
like,
born with a cushy job.
come with me.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I was like, what are we doing, sir?
Yeah.
I'm 19 years old. He goes, we're taking beer and loading the major's boat.
Party.
I said, what? He goes, every Friday we stock the major's boat for the weekend at the Inner Harbor.
And your
I'm
life
like-
was changed.
I'm like 19. I'm like,
Is that a shift
I
party?
love police work. I'm 19.
Was that a shift party?
Easiest job in the world.
I'm 19.
Is that a shift change party? Or was it just every
The
week?
major had a charter boat,
Oh, okay.
Awesome.
and our job was to load it on weekends.
So since you went to Baltimore City, I want to shift gears.
Well, wait, I was going to say that's something you two have in common.
Yeah, and I don't think Gary. I look homeless. He doesn't even know who I am at this point. He may get a glimpse, or he may remember a little bit. Can we go
We'll
back?
have to show us the pictures.
Can we go back to the Tom Frazier days real quick?
Gee, why?
I don't know if you want to.
Why?
I don't know. Yeah, why would we want to do that? Okay. Back in the Tom Frazier days when he came and he implemented the rotation policy in Baltimore City, and you were you were the FOP president, right?
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
Remember it very well because it affected me in particular. He implemented a rotation policy in the city where anybody that was in a specialized division, I think it was a 4-year. Was it a 4-year rotation?
4-year rotation.
4-year rotation policy. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because it's been a while, and I got Joe Biden brain going on. So there was a 4-year rotation policy in specialized units. And it affected all specialized units, but the ones in particular that really hurt me because I was in QRT at the time.
Okay.
I guess you remember. You remember now a little bit.
Yep.
I was in QRT at the time, and then obviously homicide. We had homicide, life on the streets. We had like a world-renowned homicide unit. I mean, we had the highest clearance rate in the country, like 79%. I want
Exactly.
79%. We had. We were like the bee's knees in homicides. Everybody was sending their people to Baltimore to teach them how to do homicides. I mean, just like they were sending people to Shakarama to teach them how to do trauma and gunshot wounds, because we had a lot of gunshot wounds. 1993 still is the leader, 353 homicides.
Yep.
Okay. So that's where they were sending the military was sending their corpsmen and their surgeons to shock trauma to learn how to do GSWs, gunshot wounds and stuff, and trauma. So anyway, he came from, was it San Jose?
San Jose, California.
That's right, San Jose, California, and implemented a rotation policy. And I'm not sure who was the mayor at that time. Was that Schmoke?
Smoke Westerbear.
Okay, so far I'm hitting a home
You're
run.
pretty good.
I'm hitting a home run.
Didn't forget
There
everything.
must be something there. I'm not sure. So anyway, there's a rotation policy that comes along, and so all the specialized units are hit. And there's a 4-year rotation policy, and in the printout, everybody was on the list. There's your name, and there's your expiration date, and when you're gone, you're leaving. That created a mass exodus we lost, I think, 12 SWAT guys. It was called QRT back in the day. 12 SWAT guys to different agencies in a 2-week period that left. Massive amount of talent, and not just from SWAT, but homicide detectives that had crazy amounts of experience, ridiculously talented, hardworking homicide detectives that left and went to other agencies because of that policy.
Is there a question in here?
There is a question. I'm setting. I'm setting it up, counselor.
I'm just
I'm setting it up, counselor. So
hang on, Gary. It's coming.
No.
No, I'm just teasing. Go ahead.
No, and all good. And then, like I said, I didn't mean to blindside you with this, but I didn't realize you
No,
had this
this
book
is
out, and I was
interesting.
like,
Yeah.
oh wow, this is awesome. I've always wanted to know this answer. Just explain a little bit how that came about, because I know that you were talking with Tom Frazier about all that and trying to, either get him to back down from that or change it, or how did that come down? How did it go down?
So yeah, it was. Everybody realized it was going to be a disaster of a policy.
Absolutely.
We lost. I mean, from the homicide side, guys like Gary Childs, Jay Landsman.
Yes.
I mean, they went to Baltimore County, and
In Anne Arundel County.
That's right.
did their Danny Brown
Yep.
went to Anne Arundel County.
Yep.
Those guys, they put their year on the street and they were sucked right into homicide.
Absolutely.
after that. So they go from investigating murders in the city, best in the country,
Absolutely.
and because of a stupid policy, end up in another jurisdiction.
Sure.
Baltimore City loses all that talent and experience. We went after Tom because it wasn't just those 2 years. It was canine,
Absolutely.
right? It was
Mounted.
mounted. There's something to be said for mounted, but canine, right? you got a dog that's going to last more than 4 years,
Yeah, who's going
and the
to
dog
handle
can't, and
the
the
dog?
dog can't go to anybody else. These are patrol dogs. These are bite dogs. They can't go anywhere else. I mean, it was just a ridiculous policy. It ended up getting squashed, but not before a lot of guys said, you know what, I can't wait because here's my opportunity if I'm going to go.
What drove the policy?
To go diversity in his mind.
You did it.
In Tom's mind, some of these units, this was a way to get more diversity into some of these units. But it wasn't the case.
Right.
And I would argue that Baltimore City suffered from that exodus of brain power and investigative skill for, I want to say, 2 decades after that. Because then what you have is inexperienced people teaching the next generation inexperienced people. And it just snowballs. And that department, I love it. It's where I grew up. Okay. They went from a clearance rate of in the mid 70s consistently down to 35%.
Wow.
So if you're already clearing 35% of your murders, and let's say another 50% of those might be convicted, crime's paying.
What would you
Baltimore.
guess the clearance rate is now?
I think they're close to 50
Okay. That's still not
is,
good.
is what I'm hearing.
It depends on what stats you're talking about. If you're talking about the FBI stats,
Well, you're right.
there's a lot less homicides. But if you talk about the actual stats of bodies,
Yeah.
then it's a lot higher because the two don't
They don't
equate.
coincide. Yeah.
So how long was this policy in place until it was?
Well, it was in place, but then it took effect because you basically got some time, right? So the policy is announced, then we're going to start doing this.
But it never got to the
Top down.
4-year mark where
It never got to the 4-year mark. A lot of people left,
right.
knowing the policy was coming.
Correct.
And then finally, we were able to get a new police commissioner, and we only got a new police commissioner because we got a new mayor.
So did those units ever get back to anywhere near that level of talent again, or they're still suffering today because of
I think
that one policy decision?
Yeah, for years they did not get back to the town.
Yeah.
Homicide in particular. I was in narcotics, spent most of my career in narcotics. We lost a lot of good people.
Sure.
But yeah, it was really devastating at the bar. I don't think people realize, okay, the policy goes away, so everything's fine. No, you just lost hundreds of years of investigative talent. You're not getting it back.
And that's homicide's like on another level. That's the cream. That's the cream. That's the cherry. That's your. How many homicide detectives did we have at that time? 50. I think it was 50.
Probably 50.
I think it was 50. It's a massive amount of people. But
Yeah, but they're doing 350 murders.
that's what and because
Every year.
because they need that many.
Yeah, no,
But can you imagine?
yeah.
Most departments can't say 50 homicide attacks. They can't even imagine that.
Right.
At the time, back in the day, we were like the 8th largest police department in the country.
Yep.
At 35 3,500 or 3,600 people, something like that. It was. We had a lot of
You
people.
know they're
back
under
in the-
2,000 now.
I heard that. There was like, I think they're like 800 down, something like that.
Yeah, they're well. Depend. You know, how do you judge
Depends.
strength, right?
Exactly right.
How do you judge
Exactly,
strength?
exactly.
But I
So-
think they got about 1,800 able bodies.
Yes. And then there's a lot of people in civilian roles and stuff like that. But yeah,
Gary, did you grow up in Baltimore?
I did for about the first 12 years. I grew up behind Memorial Stadium
Oh yeah.
in beautiful Waverly. Great place to grow up. Went to all the ball games. I mean,
Yeah.
somebody's dad was always an usher. You got in free. It was just a
awesome.
great place.
yeah.
So
but when
did
you
you
grew
always
up,
wanna-
it was a great community too. It's everything's changed. So it's changed so much. But I mean, back then, it was awesome.
Yeah, I take my kids down there now. My kids, you know, live in Hartford County, and I take them down and show them the old neighborhood. And we drive real fast and we don't stop at stop
And their
signs.
eyes are like really wide
I
open.
feel your pain. I came from Pimlico.
Okay.
That was my
God,
that was my
even
first
we were
post.
scared to go to Pimlico.
That was my first. That was my first post in
Pimlico?
in the Northwest.
Yeah, Spalding Avenue.
I had Spalding Avenue. That was my first post.
Wow.
Yep. Matter of fact, here's what happened. when I got out of the academy, I field trained in the Western, the Wild Wild West, and I was like, yes, I was all excited, and I field trained in the Western, and when I got out, they sent me to the Northwest, and I was like, what the f? I was like, I just trained in the Western. I know this. I know, and I'm starting to know the streets and stuff.
Right.
And now they drop me in the Northwest. They give me the keys to the car and say, "Go get them, cowboy." I was like, I have no idea. I got a Rand map. There's no GPS.
Yeah, right.
You don't know where the hell you're
Had a
going.
little book back and
Had a little book.
Yes.
C2.
C2.
Exactly
Right?
right. So, what is this card catalog stuff? I mean, it's crazy. So I was like, yeah, I was
love those maps.
I was all disappointed. And,
NDC.
and when I first came out, they put me in Sector 3, which was up at 7 Mile Lane. It was all Jewish community.
Yeah.
And I made the mistake. It was, I don't think I had 3 days on. And I went to my sergeant and I said, if I wanted to work in Baltimore County, I would have applied to Baltimore County. And boy, was that the wrong thing. The next day, I was in Sector 1 down in Mondawmin Mall.
At least you were busy.
In day
And
4,
weren't bored.
And day 4, I had my first homicide
Yeah.
on Dorm Street. My very first
It took
one.
4 days.
It took 4 days.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So Baltimore City was obviously your first agency. You said you were 19 when you went in
19 is
Cadet.
cadet. Yep.
as a cadet.
Yep.
Was that your goal from were you always wanting to be a cop or?
No, I always wanted to be a firefighter.
Oh, okay.
The entire family, my dad, my brother, my uncles, my cousins, all in.
I'm sorry.
All in the fire
I'm sorry to hear
department.
that. Yeah.
So, yeah. So I took the test for the fire department.
Yeah.
And back then, you had to climb a 30-foot extension ladder up the side of Memorial Stadium and ring a bell. And when I got up to the top and rang that bell, I said, I'm not taking this, man. I'm not that ladder wanted to buck me off.
Wow.
It was
Yeah, I don't do
crazy.
fires. I don't do
said-
fires.
So I joined, and I went down and tested for the police department.
Wow.
I said, I'd rather people shoot at me than wake me up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go fight a fire.
Talk about
in January.
talking about firefighters and cops. Remember when the police department got a raise and the fire department didn't because the police department had parity with the fire department, but the fire department didn't have parity with the police department. Right?
I was president of the union at that time.
Right.
We got that
Tell 'em-
raise.
tell 'em about
and
that.
we were having fights between firefighters and cops at the gas pumps when we were filling up cars
No kidding.
because we got a pay raise and they didn't. So I went to their union meeting and I tried to explain it. I got kind of booed out of there. But I said, and then I made a joke. I said, well, the day you put a sofa, a TV, and a microwave in the back of my patrol car, you can call me a firefighter.
Oh, nice.
Ooh, and a full kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't like that.
They didn't like
They
that.
didn't like
and
that.
and my family didn't like it either.
Yeah. You made a lot of friends that day.
But what happened was they said, hey, if you guys want the raise, you can leave the fire department. You can come to the police department. We'll take all your time and you can have your raise. And a lot of them did it.
And we took a couple, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, particularly the medics.
Of course.
firefighters that were the medics, because they
Because they
run,
saw the shit.
and they run
Yes, all
all
the
night.
time,
They
yeah.
run 14-hour shifts, and they never even
Wow.
get to eat.
Those are the guys that needed guns and bulletproof vests more than we did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let's fast forward. Governor Ehrlich wins, and you guys already knew him. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'd known Bob since he was a delegate.
Okay. So again, your life makes a big turn at this point. You're what rank?
My
this
rank,
time.
I'm president of the union, but my rank is police officer.
So okay. All right.
Never took a promotional test.
How about that? And now what happens? Go ahead.
Bob wins, and calls me in the office a couple days after the victory and says, "What do you want to do?" I was like, "What do you mean?" I said, I'm president of the union in the city. I love what I do." He says, "Well, we're going to have openings." And I said, "Well," I thought off the top of my head, "Well, I'd love to be a police chief in some agency. I think, showing a good guy, a rank and file guy can do it and, support these guys and, really lead them." He goes, "What agency?" And I thought, "Oh, geez." Well, I'll pick the one with the most money. Got the resources.
Now that was
So,
smart.
Yeah. And I know
Did you really? Did you think about that?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I said, "Well, if you can be successful there, right? It's your,
Yeah.
MSP wasn't in the cards. I knew that.
Right.
I knew who they were looking at for that job. So I was like, well, MDTA. No one had heard of it. It was, he's like, "Okay, let you know."
So for our listeners,
so I go
MBTA
I
is
go
the
from-
Maryland Transportation Authority.
Right. So I go one day, I'm a police officer. Next day, I'm a chief of police.
That had
That ticks some people off.
well, I probably did, and I'm sure it raised a lot of eyebrows. But good for you. You took advantage of the opportunity. Not people got to do that when they have it. What would you say? No, I don't want to do anything. I mean, that's your alternative.
No, I really thought, I was confident in my ability
Yeah.
to motivate these guys, and men and women, and get them out there. Our goal was to make them a relevant police agency and not second fiddle to anybody.
But yeah, and I'm looking at this as if it had happened to me. I know kind of what would be going through my head at this point. I'd wake up one day and go, "Oh my God, I'm going to be the chief of police of a large state agency." Was there any moment where you're like, "Holy crap, what did I just get into? Am I ready for this?" I mean, what was going through your head at this point?
Yeah, I mean, my goal was to surround myself with some good people.
Sure.
Right. So Bruce Carlin came in as my chief of staff immediately. I brought a guy over from the city who was a major in the city.
Who was that?
Russ Shea.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Russ
Yep,
came
Shea.
over. He was a major in the Southwest.
Good guy.
Ran the stadium detail for years, brought Russ over. And then there was a lot of really good MSP guys there that had retired. So we had Dave Franklin
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
from MSP and Gary
I
Bessing.
forgot he went over there.
And Gary Bessing. Gary Bessing, and really solid guys, and put them in positions that would kind of.
Well, that's a
help-
very
help me
compliment
learn.
you, yeah. Well, I mean, it's not that far fetched because we got a hospice patient in the White House. So how it's not a stretch.
No, it's not. But reality is that you did. I mean, your answer really is probably the best answer. You did what good leadership does, because you can't. You know your weaknesses. You know what you need, and you surrounded yourself with good people. That's a good leadership concept. Had you already gone through training in that way, or like any kind of formal education on?
No, I mean, I at that point I didn't even have my college degree,
Sure.
but I was confident that we could give these folks the tools to
Well,
do
what
their
gave you
job.
that confidence? Was it your time?
I
As
ran the city police union
was that it?
10 years
Yeah.
through all kinds
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
turmoil.
that's
People don't
That's
understand.
heavy. That's heavy.
People don't understand. So I had to run for election every 2 years.
right.
Wow.
Right. And we had 5,000 members, 3,000 active, 2,000 retirees.
Yeah.
I had to stand in front of that membership every 2 years, tell them why I needed another 2 years.
What have you done for me lately?
Yep.
Right.
And to me, that helps in your leadership skills.
Sure.
And you could affect a police department without being in rank within that police department.
Well, you proved that.
So the union was strong. A lot of things I don't want to say we didn't run, but we had influence over.
Absolutely.
Well, I think this is actually. I'm glad you're bringing this up because I think this is an interesting lesson in leadership. You don't have to have the formal. I mean, look, nothing against formal education and that kind of training. You know, I went through it for many years myself, but the point is that not everybody has to come through that avenue, and you were able to do it and do it successfully. So I guess the other part of the question then is, once you're in, did you know, hey, you know, this is pretty much the strategy here. This is how I'm going to get through this. I need to have these people in place. That's one part of it. But then the other part of it is you got to be ready for things like what just happened to the bridge.
Yeah.
You know, 9/11 had just occurred. You know, so Homeland Security was ramping up, and actually had already ramped up, I guess, by the time you came in as the chief.
Right.
So there's a lot of unknown there because nobody knew how that was going to come down. Was there any particular place, or were you leaning on any particular person or background or anything, or was it just basically your own experience at this point?
You know, I leaned a lot on. They had some senior leadership there already.
Okay.
In addition to the guys from MSP that had come over years before, they had some good leaders there, and I leaned on them because they drive around the Port of Baltimore. When you're driving a car on that property or drive around the runways at the airport, you're just hoping not to hit anything.
True.
Right? Or drive off into the water. I mean, it's just, you got to rely on those guys to kind of tell you what they're doing. And I looked at my job as more of a manager. I went out, I rode a lot with the guys. I learned the job. I learned that coming from the city, I did not want to stand on the side of 95 with a laser gun in my hand, clocking cars as trucks went by at 70 miles an hour.
Exactly. That's what I said. I told them, I said, if you send me to a traffic barrack, I'm going to go back to the city. And they sent me to Northeast.
Yeah.
Full service barrack.
So what made you, or was there anything that really gave you, nightmares, or at least made you nervous or made you unsure about your job? Was there anything that's kind of stands out to say, hey, this is where I'm feeling overwhelmed here?
I think the overwhelming feeling came when we lost my first officer. Duke Aaron was killed down doing some proactive policing down the Bay Bridge. He was hit by a drunk. And when you send young men out there and say, okay, I want you to be proactive. I want you to go out there and do your job. That puts them in greater danger. There's a sense of responsibility.
Absolutely.
Right?
And that's when we supported our police officers and we wanted our guys to go out there and be proactive.
Right. And they wanted to.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
They're
They
just
still
chomping
do,
at the
I
bit.
think.
They're absolutely full of piss and vinegar and chopping at the bit. And now everybody's like,
It's a lot harder to motivate guys now. But for example, we got 6 canine dogs. The agency did not have drug dogs. I'm thinking, wow, this is when you had toll booths, right? We get to look at every car on Interstate 95.
at a
We get
stop.
to look at every
exactly,
driver,
right, yeah.
look them in the eye. So we got 6 canine dogs, made a canine unit, and started knocking the hell out of drug cases and gun cases. We're the entrance to Baltimore City. We're going to get some guns.
Oh yeah,
Right?
and drugs.
But comes with that is now I want my guys pulling over drug dealers, getting it, going beyond the stop,
Hands on.
getting in the cars,
Yep.
developing probable cause, getting guns.
Well, they took away probable cause for marijuana now.
Yeah.
You know that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like I said, and I talk a little bit that in the book about that comes with a certain amount of responsibility for these folks. And I lost 3 officers in 4 years.
So you just mentioned the first one. What were the other 2?
Rick Krause.
3. You said 3.
Yeah, Rick Krause was directing traffic on. He was a
That's the one I
motorist
remember.
guy. Yeah, and he got hit by a drunk.
That was a drunk driver.
Yeah. So, and the other one was Grant. His first name's Grant. I'm trying to think of his dad. his dad's last name. His dad was a cop in Anne Arundel County, but I'm drawing a quick blank. But you know, he died on an academy run
Oh,
for charity.
wow.
Yeah. So you know, these are your folks, right?
Sure.
And,
yeah. Well, it's a brotherhood.
Were you on the job 45 years ago today? Remember Michael Dunn?
Yep.
I know you know Michael Dunn because
I hired Mike Dunn to come to MDTA.
correct, and then he just retired. What's a couple years
Yep.
ago now?
Yep.
But he was still doing the fallen hero stuff, and he was still doing the honor guard stuff.
Yep.
Okay, one day ago. Ready for this? 45 years ago today, this vest saved my life. This is a 32 caliber bullet that was stopped from going into my chest. He was shot multiple times, by the way.
Yes.
The mark under the bullet is where it hit the vest. I think someone above had other plans for me. I'm very thankful for what I have been able to accomplish and do for people during these years. And here's a photograph of the actual vest and 32 caliber bullet next to where the impact went on that vest. And that's Michael Dunn. This is a success story where someone didn't die
Yeah.
45 years ago as of yesterday.
Right. I came on a year after Mike.
Were vests even mandatory then?
So
No, they
Yeah.
weren't mandatory.
Yeah.
but
well, we only had front panels.
correct
Right,
the
right.
back panels.
So we only had, when I joined, we only had front panels, not back panels, because the statistics were you were more likely to get shot in the front,
Correct.
and the thickness of the vest, the threat level of the vest, was only for our 38 revolvers,
Wow.
And under, yeah.
okay, and under, because the statistics again were that you would get shot with your own weapon.
Yes, because 83% of the time, if the suspect gets your weapon, you're going to get killed by your own weapon.
Right.
Right. So, you know, the city being the city in terms of cost only gave us front panels that would only stop our weapon or less. So
Right.
22, 32,
Wow.
38. caliber.
38. Yep.
So when I was there, we ended up getting back panels. We got back panels after Vince Adolfo was killed.
Correct, yeah. That was
Because
86.
Vince was shot once in the front, spun him around. The guy stood over him and shot him in the back
Yep.
and killed him over in the Eastern. And I got to witness the execution of that guy.
Is that
Really?
right?
Yes.
But
It's in the
okay,
book.
he was killed in 86. When was he executed?
96, 97.
Yep. We were all of QRT was there
Yes.
during that.
You were all down.
We were all,
you were on
we were
Green
all-
Mountain.
We were all Mount Avenue.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Green Mountain Avenue.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I not that I relish watching someone die, but seeing someone that deserved it for the first time in my career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got some history.
I got
You wouldn't know it with my stuff, but we got some history.
How, shifting gears just a little bit, how helpful was it to have a good relationship with the governor during your time? In other words,
you know,
compared to others who didn't have that.
right. And I didn't have that relationship when I was in the city.
Right.
But under Bob Ehrlich, I mean, you know, because a lot of your calls are in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Hey, boss, I call at 2:00. Hey, TSA just called, and tomorrow morning at 7, they're not going to let people bring liquids on planes.
Over 3 ounces.
Right.
Right.
Well, what do you mean? Oh, and by the way, we're required to stop every third car coming into the airport.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to have traffic backed up on 195. People, I'm just telling, I'm briefing the boss.
Yeah.
We're going to have people missing their planes, and now they got to throw away all their liquid.
And they're gonna be pissed
and
off
they
at
don't know
you.
anything about this because it wasn't. It was, you know, we got the call, you know, midnight, 1:00 in the morning. It's going to happen starting 7:00 next morning, and you're going to start getting the calls.
There's no PSA ahead of time telling everybody, be forewarned, you can't bring your shampoo.
Yeah. So, you know, so having a relationship where I could call him.
Right.
I mean, he was up late.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say, was he even in bed yet?
No. But just, you know, we had a lot of incidents. We had a tanker fire that killed 6 people. The tunnel closures. We were doing interviews with Pravda, and
Didn't you, wasn't there an incident where maybe my memory might be off on this one, but where there was suspicion that there was a tanker coming to the tunnel.
It was a box truck.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. So we get word from the FBI that, the box truck's going to be pulled into the tunnel. The operator is going to then get picked up or think he's getting picked up, and the thing's going to blow up and blow up the tunnel. That's the information we get from the FBI.
Yeah.
So my natural question is, okay, what are we going to do? And they're like, well, we're looking for the guys. It's 5 of them. They live in Southeast Baltimore. Okay. We're going to take them off tomorrow morning. Okay, great. What if you miss one of them? Are they going to go operational? Do you have your eyes on this box truck? We can't find the box truck, and we don't know if we got all the players. Okay. Well, I'm going to close the tunnel when you start kicking down doors.
Sure.
They said, okay, so now what are the rules of engagement?
Right.
You got a 22-year-old kid out there as a cop.
Mm-hmm.
He sees a white box truck. There's millions of them. He sees a white box truck coming down the road. The guy doesn't listen to him, doesn't stop. Is he going to shoot him?
This is before patrol rifles.
Yeah, and this is right after they shot a police officer shot an innocent in France getting off the train, who had a backpack.
Yeah.
And had headphones on, didn't hear him. So this
was all fertile territory here.
We were just,
Everybody was on edge.
Yeah.
everybody was on edge.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
you get the cooperation you're going to get, and you make decisions. But going back to your question, so, you call the governor and you brief him on this, and his response is, sounds like you guys got it. It's like, yes, sir.
Yeah. He was.
That's the kind of, that's the
yeah.
kind of leader you want at
Right.
that level. But he was very engaged. He started the Office of Homeland Security with Dennis Schrader and those guys.
That's where I went before I went to executive. By the way,
Homeland?
I went to Homeland for like a month and a half, and here's how it works. It's
Why did you leave there?
no.
No, I'm just
no. I didn't want to go there. They put me there.
Okay.
Here's how it's a pissing contest in MSP.
Imagine that.
Yeah, exactly. Because I was an FOB, right? In order to get out of FOB has to get a body for a body. So I put in for executive protection. In order to get me out of there, during that time they started Homeland Security, and they transferred me out of FOB and put me in Homeland Security because they were able to pull from FOB because they were personnel. They were bringing personnel into Homeland Security because it was a new thing that they just started because of 9/11. So I was able to get there. So it was a stopping ground.
Wow.
And then I was there for less than 2 months, a month and a half. And I was working. Here's the cases I was working. I was working thefts of. He's already laughing. I was working thefts of thermostats in new homes. They were stealing thermostats in new homes because the old style thermostats had mercury switches in them, and they had the mercury switches in them, and they were stealing mercury switches. And there was like, oh, mercury switches, they can be used for
Yes.
bombs. Right. So I was working those cases. So I was just basically there to stand by before I went to executive, and then they moved me to executive. But I did a really brief stint there.
That's interesting. I didn't know about that little stop.
Yep, a little stop. Yep, and it was just a way to get me. First, they had to get me out of FOB,
Right,
Because they wouldn't give me up. There's like, you can't have them. You cannot have them.
Well, it's the same old game.
It's
And
the
I'm
game.
sure it's still going on.
Yes, the colonels were like, you cannot have him. He's staying. And I was like, oh, yes, we can, because we have Homeland Security, this new thing, and he's going there.
So how much of all this is in your book?
A lot of it.
Yeah.
A lot of
looking
my
forward to
time.
it.
Yeah, a lot of my time. And most of it, like I said, it centers around, you start out writing one thing, and then you get 6 months or a year into it, and you say, you know what, I need to focus on. And I focused on the effect of losing those officers,
Right.
25 officers in my career, and what that impact was to me, their families, because it's we got to remember those folks.
Absolutely. And I think I've given you at least 3 more books of material.
That's
that
right.
You can go into.
I think you should write your own, Jim.
No.
It's the look.
No.
That was a look.
But I definitely gave you some more material that you could use for sequels, prequels, all of that.
I appreciate it.
Have you considered another one?
I have. I think I want to run. I've kind of done an outline
Yeah.
on. I want to talk about the politics of policing
Okay.
and how politics influence
That'll be twice as
influences
thick.
policing and make it more on a not just focused on Baltimore and Maryland, but more of a national appeal about how these men and women are, for the most part, are just trying to go do a job, and the outside influences that impact public safety for the rest of us.
Well, more now than ever.
Absolutely.
They're
And-
vilified.
And that's why you would write it,
nationwide.
because now it has so much more relevance, because think of all the people that would come and do that job and be in that job for that noble profession that are not coming into it now because of the stigma, the defund the police, and all the bad stuff that
I got a question about that, because coming from our backgrounds, we see it, feel it, hear about it daily. My question is, and this is a good question for you because your son's now. And
Yeah.
How old is he now, or how long has he been in?
I have 2 sons in law enforcement. One's been in 12, one's 7.
So my question is, do the younger people who are just now getting involved in law enforcement, just in the academy now or the last couple of years, do they have an idea of what has changed, or is it just are they coming in there like, hey, we don't know any different, so this is fine
so
for us.
I can't look at my kids because see, they grew up in the environment
we did.
that I did.
Right,
So
right.
they grew up in the environment that we did, so they understand what the job's all about and how to do it. It's all about the individual agencies.
Right.
And how they train their people and what they do to motivate. And listen, I've always said in law enforcement, it's a team game.
Sure.
Okay, it's not an individual sport.
No.
And if you start hiring people who think it's an individual sport, your agency is going to suffer big time. And there's so few people wanting to go into the profession now.
Well, now with the individual exposure that these guys are having, it's not a team sport now for a guy that reacts wrong in a 2-second or a split-second instance. It's not
It's
a
a
team
hard-
sport.
it's
It's
much
an
more-
individual sport.
Right, it's a much more difficult job than when I came on and when these guys came on.
Absolutely.
You just imagine your entire day, whether it's an 8, 10, or 12-hour shift, you're wearing a camera.
It's a camera. Yeah,
That's
for sure.
recording
a difference.
everything you do, everything you say, everything you see during your shift. And trust me, they vindicated. I'm still in the business. They vindicated more officers than they.
Oh, sure.
I got you. But the burden that plays on your mind, everything you say.
The pause.
And
can
you
cause.
know as well as I know, the hesitation is what gets you killed.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
The pause, the hesitation.
Yep.
The hesitation.
It'll cause.
It'll do you every time.
Absolutely.
But that would be tough in any profession to be monitored.
Right.
Yeah, why
entire
don't
shift.
politicians have body
they
cameras
should.
Yeah,
every time they
exactly.
say
Great question.
every day?
Action.
Exactly.
Right.
They need to get on that.
Only time it turns them off when they go into the bathroom, and we don't know which bathroom they're going into.
That's a good point.
Well, I can guess.
I can guess.
There's certain guys that I'm pretty sure I can guess.
Hi.
Yeah. Well,
You need to start working on your second book, sir.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Well, the second book, I'm going to have to be completely retired. To write.
And the kids and your kids too.
And that's why I said I didn't
probably
mean
a good idea.
I'm still employed.
Your,
Yeah,
your
that's why-
sons too.
And that's why I said I didn't
taking
mean
notes,
to
Captain?
I didn't mean to hijack you
No.
or
Blindside.
yeah, thank you. That's right.
You're
I didn't mean to blindside you, but I didn't even know that you had a book out.
See?
And
Surprise.
the book, by the way, is called Bleeding Blue. Okay, Gary
Perfect title.
It is a perfect title, Gary McElhaney. It's called Bleeding Blue, and I had no no idea he had this awesome book out. So you guys should pick it up. Can you get it on Amazon or
Amazon.
Amazon?
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah. Go ahead and get it on Amazon. It would be really enlightening.
We spent a lot of time in the top 25 on Amazon.
That's really
perfect.
That's awesome. But I had no idea that you had this book out. And when I saw that book and I saw that badge, I was like, that's a Baltimore City badge. And I asked you, I said, is that a Baltimore City badge? You said, yeah, it's a Baltimore City badge. So, and then I was like, man, I got to ask you, how did that go down with the Frasers thing?
Yeah.
Because it affected me personally.
Sure.
And back when it affected me, I was devastated. Okay. And now I'm literally thanking you because it wound up forcing me into an MSP situation, and it made me go into a different direction where, I had to think about my future. And, I'm 20, I'm 30, I'm 40, and I'm still chasing these 18-year-olds, and I'm still on top of roofs with a rifle. And, I'm getting older and older and older, and they're still 18. So eventually I got to think about future.
Yeah.
And so it was a blessing in disguise, but thanks for clarifying some of that.
Yeah, it's perfect that you had that. And by the way, in addition to the book, do you have like a website or any place where people can reach out?
It's on Apprentice House. That's the publisher.
Okay.
Apprentice House has it.
It's not on Audible yet. I already checked.
Oh,
No.
really?
No, it's an easy read.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. And I knew Jim would love the fact that you were here.
He has no idea who I am still.
I'll show him a picture later.
You guys, listen, you guys in QRT, you stuck to your own little circle there. You didn't socialize with the rest of us now.
Yeah.
Too much.
No, we didn't. But you know what?
You spent a lot of time shooting stuff.
We did.
That'll be next week's guest.
Hey, you know what? You should come. You should come to. We have an annual QRT SWAT party.
So Brad Thomas, you know Brad Thomas?
I know Brad.
Brad.
Thomas, of course.
So-
and Charmaine.
Yes. So Brad and Charmaine are my best friends.
Charmaine's not coming, by the
No
way.
way.
But Brad will be there.
Charmaine's in the book.
Is she?
Oh, is she?
We were partners in Vice.
Oh, is that right?
And I have a story about Charmaine in the book.
Very
But,
good. Awesome person.
They're in Ocean City
and
now,
Brad
right?
told me he's coming up because
Yes.
when he comes up,
They're
comes
in
up-
Delaware, by the way.
Yep.
Yep.
And I have a place right down the street from him.
Okay.
So when he comes up, he usually stays at my house.
Is it in Sunnyside? What is it? What's it called?
They're in Lewis.
Lewis. Okay.
They're in Lewis. I'm in Dewey. And
Okay.
when Brad comes up, he stays at my house.
Okay.
And they're great group.
Great people.
couple.
They're good people.
So when is
She's
it?
a good dog person.
Yeah.
I want to say it's actually next Saturday.
Okay.
It's next Saturday. You should come. I'll get your contact
I was
information.
in
I'll send it to
narcotics.
you.
We didn't hang out with
But,
guys.
uh,
We didn't get to
it
work
doesn't-
it out in the gym. For
It doesn't
half our
matter.
shift.
You'll have like
You guys got to work out.
we got to work. We got paid to work out.
They could build a gym just for them. right?
I know.
We
I
got
trust
paid
me.
to
I
work
get
out. It was
They
the
get
best
to
job
work out.
ever. Now you know why I didn't want to leave. It was the best job ever. What do you mean I got to go back to the road? What? So yeah, it was awesome. But yeah, you should come out, and there'd be like 1,000 people asking you about the rotation policy.
Make sure you take a lot of books.
Yeah. So I can sell some books.
sell some
BYOB.
books.
Yeah, you could sell some books.
You could.
Absolutely. Yeah, but
We're here for you, Gary.
Absolutely, it'll be awesome. Next Saturday is the party. I'll get you the details before you
You
leave.
do that.
Yeah,
Well,
it's in Falston, by the way. It's
Okay.
close.
Oh,
It's
is it?
close.
Yeah, yeah.
it's in Falston. Yeah.
well, thank you for coming up, Gary. I mean, this was amazing. I knew it would be. It always takes a little bit of an unexpected turn when you have these kind of interviews, and it's just awesome.
A
So
lot of fun. Thank you.
yeah, thank you for coming up. Next week we got another actually law enforcement guest. I'll save it. I'm going to save it. You know who it is. We talked about it last week.
No, it's not state. It's not State Boy. That's the 22nd. You said.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's in
All
2
right.
weeks.
Yeah, we got another one in between.
Can I give you some questions to ask him?
You can give us any question.
Okay.
Pepper them away.
His question is, how come our bus is 1 foot bigger?
They had a good bus.
They did.
The state team.
It's only
I
57
want you to
feet.
ask him. I want to ask him when I let him use our simunitions house.
Oh,
Ah.
wait a minute. Which one?
The one down at Cox Creek.
Okay.
Cox Creek, yeah.
Yeah, I went.
What did he do? What did he do?
They destroyed it. They absolutely destroyed it.
What did you expect? Yeah.
I had to call him on that.
How
We
can
went
you
to
destroy a
school
video?
together.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yeah. Towson, he's a Towson guy.
Oh, yeah, he is.
And Scott grew up with him.
Yes, he played lacrosse with him.
Yes.
Yes, I did. I did know that. In between the Pilates and the spin class.
Yeah, right,
apparently,
exactly. Yeah, I got to get him away from his job. He's missed too many episodes.
Yes, he has.
But anyway, yeah, thanks again. We'll have you back. We'll definitely have you back.
Glad to come back.
Now you know where to go.
Yep.
So we'll be back next time, normal time. Thank you again to everybody who's been listening. The reviews have been great and the suggestions are good. So keep them coming. If you have any questions, again, you can email Mike at allredwhiteandblue.com. And
Nailed it. Nailed it.
I finally got it right. For any questions or comments, definitely keep an eye on that. And also any suggestions. Maybe there's somebody or something you want us to discuss. You see where our heart is a lot of the times, but we try to mix it up a little bit. Keep the comments and suggestions coming. And we'll just look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Over and out, bro.
Yeah, have a good one, guys.
Thanks, Gary.
Thanks again. Hey, you've been listening to the All Red, White, and Blue podcast. It's engineered and recorded by Josh Miller. Please subscribe and comment so you don't miss any future episodes. Thank you for listening, and we'll be back with you again next week.